Welcome, Michal. Welcome to DevFest London. Great to see you today. I know you have just finished giving your talk. So thanks for rushing in at our creator studio at DevFest. So you're a product lead at Google, right? But you also teach prototyping and testing in university. So how does your experience in the classroom influence the tools you build?
Okay, thank you for having me here. And yeah, that's a great question. So I think if you need to teach something, it changes your mindset because you now suddenly need to look at the topic from a very different angle. Not be, okay, how can I present that? How can I make it consumable and so on? And that forces me to rethink how we are thinking about a topic a lot. And then there's this other angle, because when I teach, for example, something around testing, and here's a puppet description, that's how you do that. And for me, it's very natural. Oh yeah, I do new tab and stuff like that. But for students or people that are not that deep into the topic, it's actually quite hard to get bootstrapped with that. They have a very hard time following you. So I think for the product in particular, the implication is onboarding is very important and very underrated. And that's why I think also the AI tools, or AI in general, is very powerful because it can streamline this onboarding flow.
Right, awesome, yeah. Well, I'm glad actually you mentioned AI. I have in my notes something that's really caught my eye, let's put it like that way. So in your bio, it mentions AI-powered debugging, right? That sounds like fascinating. Let's put it that way. It sounds fascinating, you know. So can you give us like a kind of like an example, let's put it that way, of how that helps a developer solve a problem that they couldn't actually solve it?
Okay, right. So that goes very well with the onboarding problem. Like for example, imagine you are a web developer at a company, a sizable company, and you happily write features, fix bugs every day, and suddenly you get an email from a marketing person like, here's a lighter report. We are extremely slow. Make the website load faster.
Seen that.
And suddenly you're forced to think about, wait, what? What is happening here? I never optimized really for performance problems, and fixing performance problems is very hard because you need to look at the whole stack that you're shipping. But then you start investigating, like, okay, yeah, how do I investigate performance problems? And you see a few talks and a few blog posts, and like, okay, I'm going to use the performance panel in DevTools. And then you look at the flame graph. And the flame graph in a performance panel, let's say it's a little bit intimidating. We try to make it less intimidating.
Yeah.
But we also integrate the AI nowadays, because a lot of people really have a hard time to get some traction with performance debugging when they have to do it. And we started integrating AI in there, like helping you, getting bootstrapped, getting started. Like for example, you want to optimize your loading speed, so LCP is too slow. It looks at the page and tells you, you know what, in order to improve the LCP on that particular page, you should be doing this, this, or this. And that is already getting you started so much faster, because you suddenly don't face the avalanche of here's all the data. You don't have this data paralysis. And instead you can actually move into action and try something out. And that will get you going.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome, yeah. You've mentioned like the dev tools, right?
Yeah.
So let's put it that way. You mentioned, they can be intimidated, like parts of the dev tool, whatever, like it can be intimidated. So talk like particularly Chrome dev tools, right? Mm-hmm. So Chrome dev tools is used by millions. Do we still can say millions, or are we going to billions now?
I mean, not a billion web developers out there.
Okay, yeah, okay, cool, yeah.
So yes, it's millions.
All right, awesome, yeah. So it is used by millions, right? It can be hundreds of millions and anything. So how do you and your team actually even begin to gather and prioritize like feedback from like a diverse community to decide how to build what's like next?
Okay, that's a hard question with a nuanced answer.
we like to ask hard questions, yes.
Okay, so of course, we have an issue tracker, right? So if you report a bug in Chrome DevTools, somebody from the DevTools team is actually going to have a look at it. Might take some time, but we have triaging process to actually look at all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we use that as one data source, the issue tracker. There we get bugs in there, but also feature requests. And in particular for the feature requests, very often we are also looking at how interesting is this to people, how painful is this to people. And one signal, for example, that we're using is there's an upvoting feature and an issue tracker that we're using. How many people are actually upvoting that? Like, for example, just recently, I think a month ago, something like that, we shipped a feature, individual request throttling. So you can select a request in the network panel and say, oh no, this thing should load 20 times slower, or should be blocked at all and stuff like that. That was one of those very upvoted feature, but we never did really come to implementing it because it was so complicated to implement. But now we did it because, okay, it's really requested a lot. So that's one way, upvoting, report it on our issue tracker. Other way, of course, is going to conferences like the DevFest here, or to meetups, and then simply talking with people. That is also one signal. This is not that scientific, of course, but it's more like getting a vibe. And what we're also doing is we do a lot of UX research. Like we interview, we do real UX research where we have interview questions and we interview people and then, okay, walk us through how you're actually doing debugging performance, for example. So
Okay.
it's a mix. That's what I said, it's a nuanced answer.
Yeah. So basically, on a feature side, or even like, not everything, not just the feature side, everything outside of the bugs, let's say, it's to building the product to make the developers' lives easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is
Short
a good
answer.
summary. That's
Yes.
a good summary.
Awesome.
The interesting pieces, in particular for bugs, what we are really looking at is regression bugs. Because it really sucks, right? Something is working. So we're building a tool for professionals to be used by professionals to create professional websites. And it really sucks when your tool that you're relying on is suddenly not working. So that's why we try to prioritize regression bugs.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, because I remember a couple of stories, but that's I think for another time for a regression bugs. Not particularly to Chrome. I remember from my my work side. So yeah, definitely interesting. Yeah.
I also worked on V8, so JavaScript, and there we had to constantly change sometimes behavior of JavaScript and how it works. And also there we experience very interesting regression bugs, side effects, yes.
Okay, yeah. Well, maybe for that another time?
Yeah.
Perhaps, yeah, let's do it another time. So I just want to, a couple of, going back to, like shifting a little bit, like a different one. You also mentor startups, right?
Yes, sometimes I do that.
Sometimes I do that. Do you mind if I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
Well, maybe not startups, but like kind of like what's the, if you can answer, let's do it this way. What's the most common mistake you see like new companies make when it comes to like prototyping and testing their products?
Okay, when I typically talk with startups, they are they're already at the point where they found some sort of product market fit. Because then it's mostly about product strategy, in what direction should this go. So it's more like starting to scale up. I think the interesting piece is that when you're at this point where you already know, okay, you have a product that works, how are you going to evolve it? Are you going to keep it very stable, right? Because now we have users, we have to work towards them, we have to appease them, we make sure we don't break anything, or are you going to still keep on experimenting? What we're doing, for example, also in DevTools, like we have certain parts, components, where we try to keep them stable, because as I said, you don't really want to mess with one's muscle memory. Like for example, our UI surfaces in DevTools, like the network panel, console, and so on, we try to not change them a lot, and we do that deliberately, saying no, this thing is actually we are not going to change this a lot because it's going to mess with a lot of people's muscle memory. But we are still have this capacity aside, and that is like you still need to have this capacity and a lot of capacity towards experimenting. And our AI surfaces, for example, there we are changing them a lot, but that is also deliberate because AI is changing. The AI space is changing so fast. It's like, yes, you need to change that, and I really wonder how we are going to settle there.
Oh yeah, AI.
So, long story short, you need to have some portfolio mix somewhere in the middle. Keep the stuff that works relatively stable because you have users for that, but make sure that you also have a sizable budget for keep on experimenting, building the next thing that you're going to rely on, right? Yeah.
And that is your free advice coming from the Creator Studio DevFest London. So, yep, that's one. So maybe I can go around and try to wrap up the interview on that side. So, given your unique perspective, what would you think it's the one tool or practice that every developer should be adopting right now?
I mean, the obvious answer would be using AI coding agents, right? And that is the obvious answer.
Yeah.
But let me add a little bit more nuance to that. Because if you see presentations from vendors that want to sell their AI coding tools or their solutions, like I did the same, right? They're using toy examples and greenfield examples. I also did the same because it's easier to convey a message with that. But what is really interesting and really powerful, I think, is using those AI coding tools with brownfield projects. So your legacy code base that you have there, that's like a decade old or something like that, has gone through an Angular migration, a React migration, then now you're doing Vue, and so on and so on. And then using your AI coding agent with that and understanding what works and what doesn't work. Because that is then really going to unlock productivity for a developer. So instead of just using AI for toy examples, try it out with your actual code base and see how far you can push it. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Awesome. So AI.
Yes, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm biased. I work for Google. I have to say AI.
Well, I don't work, but I use that and I've been using it quite a while. So I agree with that. I can say AI as well. Well, I think that leads us to the end of today's interview. Michael, thanks so much for your time. Thank you for being here at DevFest London, for taking the time for giving the interview, for giving your talk, for your expertise, and we're looking forward to welcome you in the future.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.